The metal door slammed open so hard that dust rained from the ceiling. Elias jerked awake, breath breaking into sharp pieces. His hands shook uncontrollably as light poured into the dark cell he had been trapped in for weeks, or was it months? Time had no meaning here. Boots thundered down the hall. Voices barked commands. Energy rifles hummed. Elias tried to push himself against the wall, but his weak arms trembled under his own weight. The cold floor felt like ice under his palms. Then everything went silent. A figure stepped into view, tall enough to scrape the lights with the crown of her head. Her cloak flowed like living shadow. Silver armor glowed softly across her shoulders and chest. Her eyes, shimmering violet, locked onto him with a look that was neither anger nor relief. It was something deeper. "Have you forgotten me?" the alien queen asked softly. Elias' breath caught. His chest tightened until he felt his ribs might crack. He knew that voice. He had heard it whisper in command halls, echo in deep caverns, speak with fire, speak with sorrow. But this voice trembled. He tried to speak, but all that left his mouth was a broken gasp. His hands trembled violently, not from fear alone, but from memory. She stepped toward him slowly, like approaching a wounded creature. The guards behind her stayed still, watching him with cold, expressionless eyes. None dared move without her order. A crack of thunder split the sky outside the prison. The ground shook. Elias flinched, heart racing. Was this real? Was she real? Her name pressed against his mind, but his thoughts were scrambled, tangled in trauma and exhaustion. The queen of the one known across the galaxy for her power stood only a few feet away from him, staring like he was the only thing in the universe that mattered. But why was she here? And why did her voice sound like she was breaking? "Elias," she whispered, "look at me." He lifted his head slowly. His vision blurred, then steadied. Her face, once so commanding and fierce, now softened with pain. She knelt when she had never bowed to anyone, and her armor touched the dirty floor. "You're shaking," she said quietly. He tried to speak. He tried to understand. Why would the most feared queen in 3 sectors kneel in a prison cell for a human nobody? His voice finally crawled out. Why are you here?" Her lips parted slightly, not for command, not for threat, but for something like grief. "Because you disappeared," she said. "Because they took you from me." Her voice hardened for a split second before softening again. "Because I thought you were dead." Elias blinked, confusion swirling with fear. He remembered a battlefield. He remembered saving someone tall, silver-skinned, crowned with light. He remembered explosions. Pain. A hand reaching for him, hers. Then darkness. But he had never believed she would remember him. A simple human engineer who had stumbled into a royal conflict far beyond his worth. "Why would you care?" he whispered. The guards tensed at his words, but the queen raised a single hand to silence them. She leaned closer, her eyes glowing with something he could not name. "Because you saved my life," she said. He shook his head. "Anyone would have." "No," she said, her voice breaking. "Only you did." Lightning flashed again. The shadows of her cloak rippled across the walls. The queen reached out, slowly, carefully, like touching something fragile. He flinched anyway. Her hand froze. Elias shut his eyes. "I didn't forget you. I just thought none of it was real." Her breath caught quietly. "It was real, Elias, too real." She stood and turned toward her guards. "Get him out of here, prepare medical support." The guards started forward. Elias panicked. "No, wait," his voice cracked. "What happens now? Why did you come?" The queen looked back at him, and for the first time he saw loneliness behind her royal mask. A loneliness carved deep, old as her crown. "I came," she said softly, "because losing you once was enough. I will not lose you again." Elias' heart thudded loudly, painfully. He didn't understand everything. He barely understood anything. But as he was lifted gently by the guards, he saw her one last time before they carried him out. The alien queen was shaking too. Elias lay on a medical stretcher as it floated smoothly down the metallic corridor. White ceiling lights passed over him in slow intervals, each one hitting his eyes like a burst of sun. His body trembled, fighting the warmth of the thermal blanket the medics had wrapped around him. He heard footsteps behind him, soft, measured, unhurried. The Queen was following. The guards at his sides kept glancing back as if making sure their ruler truly walked with them. Rulers didn't walk anywhere. They were carried or escorted by ceremony. But here she was, following a human prisoner through a dim hallway as if nothing from her royal status mattered. Elias tried to lift his head, but the medic beside him gently pushed it back. "Easy," she said in a melodic voice. "Your body is under shock." "Shock," Elias muttered, "feels like more than that." The medic didn't reply, but her narrowed eyes told him she agreed. Behind them, the Queen finally spoke. "How long?" The medic answered without stopping her work. "His condition shows signs of long isolation, malnutrition, sleep deprivation, psychological strain, weeks at least, possibly longer." The Queen's footsteps stopped. Elias felt her presence behind him like a cold wind. Fierce, heavy, controlled only by effort. "Who authorized this?" she said in a low voice. The medic swallowed. We don't know, Majesty." Her voice chilled. "Find out." Elias closed his eyes. Even in fear, her anger was strangely comforting. Not because it was gentle, nothing about her was truly gentle, but because it wasn't aimed at him. The stretcher turned into a large chamber with tall windows showing a violet sky. A medical bay, he guessed. Soft humming filled the air as machines activated. The guards lifted him onto a padded bed. For the first time in ages, he felt softness beneath him instead of cold stone. The Queen stepped forward. "Leave us." Every medic and guard froze. Some hesitated. Then they bowed deeply and filed out until the doors sealed behind them with a soft thud. Silence took the room. Elias stared up at the ceiling, breathing hard. His pulse still raced too fast. His hands wouldn't stop trembling. He heard her footsteps moving closer. "Elias," she said softly. He didn't answer. He didn't know how to. Her shadow fell over him. He felt her presence like a warm glow at his side. "Look at me." He turned his head slowly. The Queen stood next to the bed, hands clasped, eyes fixed on him, not with command but with concern. "Do you remember anything?" she asked. "I remember pieces," Elias whispered. "Flashes, a battle, an explosion, you reaching for me." His throat tightened. Then nothing. Her eyes softened even more, the violet fading into a dim glow. "I looked for you for months after that battle. My ship scanned the debris fields, the warlords, everything." He swallowed. "Why would they take me?" The Queen looked away, jaw tightening. "Because you saved me, they saw it, they feared it." "Feared me?" Elias almost laughed, his voice cracked. "I'm just human, just an engineer." She leaned closer. "You are the one who pulled me from the fire when my own guards fell, the one who carried me after the blast, the one who refused to leave my side even when the enemy closed in." Elias blinked. He remembered fragments of that, heat, smoke, the weight of a wounded queen leaning on his shoulder. "And," she added, voice quieter, "you were the one who held my crown in your hands when I collapsed." He looked away, chest tight. I didn't know it mattered." "It mattered," she said. Silence returned, a heavy silence full of things unspoken. Elias finally asked the question, trembling in his chest. "Why did you ask me if I'd forgotten you?" The Queen inhaled slowly. "Because when I found you in that cell, you didn't look at me like you knew me. You looked at me like I was just another stranger." Elias stared at her. The fear in her eyes wasn't like her. Queens weren't supposed to fear anything. "I didn't forget," he whispered. "I just didn't believe you'd come." She closed her eyes, as if those words hurt more than any wound. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she opened them and reached out, slow, careful, offering her hand above his trembling one. "You are safe now," she said, "and I will help you remember everything they tried to take from you." Her hand hovered, waiting. Elias stared at it. And slowly, hesitantly, he lifted his shaking hand toward hers. He didn't know that outside the door, two shadowy figures were watching the Queen's every move. They whispered unheard. If he remembers too much, we're all finished. Elias woke to the soft hum of medical machines. A warm glow filled the room, gentle as morning sunlight. For the first time in what felt like ages, he wasn't cold. A light blanket brushed against his skin, and the scent of clean air, not mold and dust, filled his lungs. He tried to sit up, but his muscles protested sharply. A firm hand pressed gently on his shoulder. Slowly, the Queen said. She stood beside his bed without her armor, wearing a simple dark robe that still looked regal. Her long silver hair fell freely down her back. Without the armor, she looked less like a conqueror and more like someone real, someone worried. "How long was I asleep?" Elias asked weakly. 4 hours, she said. "Your body is stabilizing." His hand still trembled, but the shaking was softer now. His breath didn't break as violently. Something warm inside him eased, seeing her there. "Why are you still here?" he asked. Her violet eyes flickered, as if the question surprised her. "Where else would I be?" "With your council, your military, your empire," Elias said. "You're a queen." "And you," she replied, "are the reason I still have a kingdom to rule." He looked away quickly. Compliments from an alien queen were too strange for him to carry. But she wasn't just watching him. She was studying him, as if searching for something in his eyes. Another question had been burning inside him. He finally let it out. "What did they want from me?" Her expression darkened. The air itself seemed to shrink. "I don't know," she said, "but someone inside my own court hid you, someone powerful enough to erase your presence from every record." Elias stared at her. "You're saying someone in your government kidnapped me?" She lowered her voice, anger shaking through each word. "Someone close, someone who didn't want you near me again, someone who feared what you meant." His pulse jumped. "What I meant, I don't mean anything." The Queen turned and walked slowly to the window. Outside, the sky shimmered in violet and deep blue shades. 2 moons were rising on the horizon. "You do not understand your impact, Elias," she said. "Humans are rare in this region of space. Most see your kind as weak, simple, but you," she paused, "you an entire war host to save me." He opened his mouth to protest, but she raised a hand. "You carried me from the burning wreckage of my own palace. You shielded me when the roof collapsed. You fought with bare hands while my guards were dead or scattered." Her voice softened. "No one has ever done that for me." Elias swallowed, memories flickering like broken lights in his mind. He remembered fire. He remembered her collapsing. He remembered dragging her through smoke, shouting for help. But everything after was still fog. He took a deep breath. "I want to remember." The Queen stepped closer to him again. "You will, but memory recovery must be slow." "Why?" "Because you were tortured for knowledge." Her jaw clenched. "If your memories return too fast, the trauma may break you." His heart froze. "Tortured for what knowledge? I don't know anything." "That is what scares me," she whispered. Before Elias could respond, the automatic doors slid open. A tall figure entered, chalk-white skin, narrow eyes, and long ceremonial armor plates. He bowed to the Queen, but his gaze flicked to Elias with something cold hiding behind politeness. "Majesty," the advisor said, "the High Council demands your presence. They question your priorities." Her expression sharpened. "My priorities are my own," she said. "Tell them I will attend when it suits me." The advisor hesitated. "Forgive me, Queen, but the Council insists." Elias noticed it then, how the advisor didn't meet the Queen's eyes, how his fingers twitched near his belt, how a tiny symbol on his collar glowed faintly, the symbol of the inner circle, the Queen's secretive political elite. The same faction rumored to oppose her decisions. The same faction that might fear a human's influence over their ruler. The Queen stepped between Elias and the advisor without thinking. Her voice lowered dangerously. "You will not step any closer to him." "I meant no disrespect." the advisor said smoothly, but the council is impatient. My answer, she replied coldly, is unchanged. The advisor bowed again, too quickly, and left. The moment the door shut, Elias whispered, "That man, he didn't like me." The queen turned to him, eyes gleaming with a fierce promise. "They fear you, Elias. They fear what you represent." He frowned, "And what do I represent?" She answered without hesitation. "Hope." He stared at her. But outside the room, that same advisor was already activating a hidden communicator, his voice dropping to a whisper. Phase 2 begins. The queen will not abandon the human. So the human must be removed. Elias sat on the edge of the medical bed, hands gripping the blanket tightly. The queen remained beside him, still in her dark robe, refusing to leave even as the machines around him beeped softly. "You should rest," she said. He shook his head. "Rest won't fix anything. I need to know why I was taken." The queen studied him. There was strength in her gaze, but also worry. "Some truths," she said, "are more dangerous than your wounds." Elias swallowed. "I want to hear them anyway." She turned away for a moment, searching for the right words. "When you saved me," she said slowly, "you became a symbol for my people, for the outer colonies, someone human who fought with honor." "That shouldn't make me a target," Elias whispered. She looked back at him. In an empire ruled by fear, a human showing courage threatens those who want power for themselves. He opened his mouth to speak, but the doors slid open again, this time without warning. 2 medics entered. Except something was wrong. Their uniforms were correct, but their steps were too quick, too sharp, too focused. When they approached the bed, their hands were already reaching for the IV lines, the injector tray. The queen moved like lightning. Her arm shot out, grabbing the nearest medic by the wrist. The man froze as her violet eyes flared bright. "What are you doing?" she demanded. The medic stuttered, "Majesty, we were ordered to." "To what?" she snapped. Elias pulled back instinctively as the second medic reached for him again. I was told to sedate the human for transfer," the medic stammered. The queen's voice turned colder than ice. "By whose authority?" Neither medic answered. Their silence was too perfect, too coordinated. "Guards," she shouted. The door slammed open as 4 soldiers rushed inside with weapons drawn. They pinned the fake medics to the wall in seconds. Elias' heart hammered. Transfer where?" The queen didn't answer. She was already furious, turning toward the guards. "Find out who sent these imposters. Tear apart the council chambers if you must." The guards bowed and dragged the medics away. As soon as the door sealed, the queen turned to Elias. "You are not safe here." Elias clenched the blanket, fear rising again. "I thought this was your palace." "It is," she said softly, "but even here shadows move." He looked at her. "You think your own council is trying to harm me." Her silence was answer enough. After a long moment, she straightened her posture. "There is only one place left where their reach fails, one place even the council avoids." She held out her hand. "Come with me." He hesitated. "Can I walk?" "You can lean on me," she said. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes were fierce, an unspoken promise that she would not let him fall. Elias slowly swung his legs over the bed. The moment he stood, a wave of dizziness swept over him. He stumbled, but the queen caught him before he hit the floor. Her arm wrapped around his back with surprising strength. "Easy," she whispered. "I'm fine," he muttered, but she didn't let go. Together they moved toward a hidden door behind the medical scanners. She placed her palm on the panel, and the wall split open to reveal a dark staircase descending deep underground. Elias stared. "What is this?" "The place where my ancestors kept the Empire's oldest secrets," she said. "It is where I learned truths that nearly destroyed me." They walked down the staircase slowly, torches igniting as they passed. The air grew colder. Elias shivered, but he kept moving with her support. At the bottom of the steps, A huge chamber opened before them. Carved ancient stone, glowing symbols, and a central platform containing a circular device shaped like interlocking rings. "What is that?" Elias whispered. "The memory nexus," the queen said. "A vault of forgotten knowledge." Elias stepped toward it, breath caught in his throat. Something about the device seemed familiar, its shape, its hum, the faint energy rising from the rings. "Why bring me here?" he asked. The queen watched him carefully. "Because the answers you want, the answers they tried to break out of you, may be buried inside this place." He stared at the nexus, heart pounding. "You think I know something important?" "I know you did," she said softly. He turned to her. "How?" She stepped closer, looking at him not as a queen, but as someone who had carried fear for too long. "Because before the explosion, before the battle, before the night they stole you." She touched his shoulder gently. "You told me something that changed everything." Elias' breath caught. "What did I tell you?" She looked into his trembling eyes. "You told me you found a secret in the heart of my own empire." He froze. A secret big enough for someone to torture him for. A secret worth killing him for. And now, he was standing above the place where that secret might be hiding. The memory nexus pulsed softly, the rings shifting and rotating as if responding to Elias' heartbeat. A faint hum filled the chamber, ancient, steady, almost alive. Elias stepped closer, drawn not by curiosity alone, but by a strange sense of recognition. It felt like something deep inside him was waking up. The queen stayed only a step behind him, her presence steady, protective, almost tense. "Elias," she said quietly, "you do not need to do this today." He shook his head. "I need to know. If I don't understand what happened, I'll never be free of it." Her expression softened, but she did not argue. She simply nodded and motioned to the nexus. Elias approached the central platform. His fingers brushed the metallic rings. They vibrated beneath his touch, and a wave of warmth shot up his arm. He gasped. The queen stepped closer, ready to pull him away if needed. But he lifted his other hand. "It's okay," he whispered. "I remember this feeling." He didn't, not fully, but something inside him knew this place. A sharp click echoed through the chamber as the rings locked into place. A beam of blue light rose from the ground, surrounding Elias in a soft column of energy. He gasped as images flashed behind his eyes, too fast to understand, too bright to hold. The queen shouted, "Elias!" But he lifted a hand. "No, it's working." The light deepened, the images slowed, and then the memories came. He stood in a grand room made of crystal walls, deep inside the queen's palace. But it was not burned yet, not broken like the ruins he faintly remembered. It was alive with activity, scientists, officers, diplomats. Elias wasn't supposed to be there. He remembered sneaking in, following a rumor shared by a frightened technician. A rumor about a secret developed by the inner circle, the Queen's own council. He hid behind a pillar, watching as the advisors gathered around a small device on a pedestal. The symbol on it matched the one he had seen on the counselor's collar earlier. His breath caught. They were talking in low, intense voices. "This weapon could end the Queen's reign." "It is not a weapon, yet, but if we complete it, she will lose control. The colonies will rise, her influence will shatter." Elias felt his younger self lean forward, heart pounding. The advisors continued. "The Nexus holds the final key. Once we unlock it, the throne will fall." Elias remembered his shock. The Queen had stood for unity, for peace, yet her own council planned to overthrow her. Worse, they were hiding something far more dangerous. The advisors suddenly went silent. The room grew cold. Someone had entered. The Queen. She walked with confidence, unaware that betrayal surrounded her. Elias remembered her voice clearly as she approached the counselors. "You requested my presence." The advisors exchanged glances. Their leader forced a polite bow. "Yes, Majesty, we have developments to show you." Elias knew with terrifying certainty that they were about to use the device on her. He had seconds to act. Without thinking, he rushed forward from his hiding spot and tackled the nearest council member. Shouts erupted. The device clattered to the floor. Someone screamed, "Stop him!" Elias grabbed the device and sprinted toward the queen. "Majesty, they're betraying." But a blast ripped through the chamber. The explosion threw him and the queen off their feet. Crystal shattered, flames erupted, alarms screamed. He remembered grabbing the queen's arm and dragging her through the collapsing hallways. He remembered her collapsing. He remembered carrying her. And he remembered something else, something that froze his heart. One of the counselors shouting behind him, "Don't let him escape, he knows the truth." The memory snapped. Elias fell to his knees as the Nexus light faded. His breath shook violently and sweat covered his forehead. The queen rushed to him and caught him before he hit the floor. "Elias, talk to me. What did you see?" He looked up at her, eyes wide with fear and realization. "It was your council," he whispered. "They tried to overthrow you. They built something dangerous. I saw it with my own eyes." The queen's face turned pale. "And they took me," Elias continued, voice cracking, "because I knew their plan." The queen closed her eyes briefly, strength trembling beneath the surface. "My own circle," she whispered, "my own blood." Elias gripped her sleeve weakly. "Majesty, they're still trying to finish what they started." Her eyes widened, and before she could reply, the chamber doors slammed open. Armed soldiers stormed inside, weapons raised. Not her guards, not her loyalists. Elias recognized the symbol on their armor. The inner circle had found them. The doors crashed open with a metallic blast that echoed through the chamber. Sparks rained from the hinges as armed soldiers in dark armor poured inside, their visors glowing red. Every one of them wore the same sharp symbol Elias had seen on the advisor's collar, the mark of the inner circle. The queen pulled Elias behind her in a single fluid motion, placing her body between him and the soldiers without hesitation. Her violet eyes flared bright enough to cut through the darkness. "Lower your weapons," she commanded. The lead soldier stepped forward, rifle aimed at her chest. "Majesty, you are outnumbered. Surrender the human." Elias felt her grip tighten on his arm. "No," she said softly, but with a force that made the air shake. "This chamber is sacred. You violate the ancient laws by stepping inside." The soldier's voice did not tremble. "The laws no longer matter, not after what he knows." Elias tried to step forward, but the queen blocked him with her arm. "Stay behind me," she whispered. The soldier continued, his tone turning colder. "He accessed the Nexus. He saw the truth. We cannot allow him to leave this chamber alive." Elias felt a chill crawl down his spine. He knew this day had been coming ever since he woke in that cell. He just didn't expect it so soon. The queen raised her voice. "If you harm him, you declare war on your own ruler." The soldier tilted his head slightly. "Then let it be wars." The queen moved first. A pulse of violet light burst from her palms, slamming into the front line of soldiers and sending them flying backwards like. Their armor sparked as they hit the far wall. Elias shielded his eyes from the blinding flash. But the soldiers kept coming. Blaster fire rained toward them. The queen activated an energy shield with a fierce gesture. A shimmering barrier appeared around her and Elias, absorbing the incoming bolts with heavy thuds. Elias flinched. "You can't hold this forever." "I do not need forever," she said, voice low and determined. "Just enough time." Elias' gaze darted around the chamber, searching for anything that could help. His eyes landed on a fallen soldier's weapon near the far side of the room. "I can grab that," Elias whispered. "No," the queen snapped. "You are injured and you are not a soldier." He clenched his fists. "I won't just hide behind you." Blaster fire hammered against the shield. The queen's breathing grew slightly strained, but she did not lower her stance. "You will survive this," she said. "And if I fall, you must run." "I'm not leaving you," Elias said fiercely. She turned her head slightly, eyes softening for a heartbeat. You already saved me once, that is enough. A crackling sound snapped through the room. Her shield flickered dangerously. The soldiers saw it. The lead soldier shouted, now. They surged forward. The queen dropped the shield and leapt into motion, her movements a blur of speed and power. She launched toward the nearest soldier, ripping the weapon from his hands and slamming him into another attacker. Her strength was overwhelming. Even with no armor, she fought like the warrior queen the galaxy feared. But there were too many. Elias watched helplessly as blaster fire grazed her side. She winced but did not fall. Instead, she spun, slammed her palm onto the floor, and a burst of energy erupted outward, knocking back half the squad. Go, she shouted at Elias. Run, get to the surface. He shook his head violently. No, if I leave, they'll kill you. Another blast hit her leg. She staggered. Elias' heart stopped. He ran toward her without thinking, ignoring the pain shooting through his body. He grabbed the weapon from a fallen soldier and fired wildly at the attackers. The recoil almost knocked him over, but he kept shooting. The queen yelled, Elias. But he kept firing, forcing the soldiers back for a moment, long enough for the queen to grab his arm and pull him upright. You fool, she breathed. You will die if you stay. Then I die with you, he said. Her eyes widened, not with fear, but with something deeper, something fragile. Elias. A deafening explosion rocked the chamber as the soldiers detonated a charge near the nexus. The ancient machinery groaned and cracked, dust showered from the ceiling. The lead soldier raised his weapon again. This ends now. The queen stepped in front of Elias again, ready to take the shot. But before the trigger could be pulled, a thunderous blast shook the entire underground hall. The far doors burst open, and a wave of royal guards, loyal to the queen, stormed inside, shouting battle cries. The inner circle soldiers faltered. The queen straightened, flames of fury in her eyes. You wanted war, she said, voice rising into a roar. Then face your queen. As her guards clashed with the inner circle, Elias leaned against her, breath shaky. Majesty, what now? She stared at him, determination burning brighter than ever. Now, she said, we fight for the truth. The hall fell silent as Queen placed her hand gently on Isaac's chest. Her touch glowed faintly, as if her memories were flowing into him, but her eyes stayed fixed on his face, fearful, hopeful, trembling. Isaac, if this does not work, she whispered, know that I never blamed you, not once. He swallowed hard, I'm ready. But he was, his heart hammered painfully, his breathing shook, his legs felt weak. The entire hall seemed to tilt around him. What if he failed her again? What if the darkness inside him swallowed everything she tried to give? He clenched his hands into fists. Leaned closer, her voice barely above a breath. Do not fight it, just let me in. Then the world exploded into light. Isaac gasped as visions crashed into him, bright, sharp, overwhelming. He saw a young woman with silver hair laughing beside him under a glowing alien sky. Her armor was bulky, but she moved with surprising grace. She held a fruit he'd never seen before and insisted humans could eat it. He remembered teasing her about her terrible cooking. He saw the moment she'd first touched his hand, confused by how warm he was. He saw her standing in a battlefield, yelling at him to run while she held back enemies twice her size. He saw a dim room lit by a single lantern, her head resting on his shoulder as she told him that humans felt like home. Each memory hit Isaac like a wave, warmth, fear, joy, sorrow, mixing until they became unbearable. He fell to his knees, clutching his head. Knelt with him instantly, holding his shoulders with steady strength. Stay with me, she whispered. Isaac, look at me. More memories poured in, not just hers, but his own buried ones rising to meet them. He remembered calling her ridiculous because she thought Earth insects were tiny monsters. He remembered her asking him why humans smiled so much. He remembered joking he would marry her if she kept saving his life. He remembered the explosion, sharp, burning, terrifying, throwing him across the station, darkness swallowing everything, the crushing silence that followed. Then nothing. Until now. Isaac choked on a sob. I didn't leave you, I didn't forget you, I couldn't see anything, I thought I died. Tears fell from her silver eyes. You were gone for a year, I searched every star, every battlefield, every ruined station. I screamed your name until I lost my voice. She pressed her forehead to his. You were not dead, you were stolen from me. He realized now, the enemy faction had wiped his mind so the Queen would break. They had succeeded almost, but not fully, not forever. His hands rose shakily and cupped her cheeks. I remembers. The hall erupted, not in noise, but in a wave of emotion. Warriors who had been tense now relaxed. Advisors exhaled. Even guards blinked rapidly, touched by the scene. But something darker stirred behind Isaac's memories. A flash of metal. A masked figure. A voice whispering, if he remembers, the war begins again. Isaac's eyes widened. The threat, the plan, it all returned at once. He pulled away slightly. They're coming. Her expression sharpened instantly. Who? The same ones who erased me. They don't want peace between humans and your kingdom. They want you broken and me lost. Rose to her feet, helping him up. Then they will fail. He stared at her, at the strength in her glowing eyes, at the unshakable power in her voice, at the woman he once loved and somehow still did. He said softly, I'm sorry I forgot. She shook her head. You did not forget, you survived. She took his hand, firm, sure, warm, and faced the grand doors of the hall. Stand with me, Isaac, as you once did. He squeezed her hand. I will. Her wings unfolded, shining with a fierce silver light. Then together we will protect both our worlds. As the doors opened and alarms began to echo across the palace, Isaac felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose, courage, and love returning like a sunrise. He looked at her one last time before stepping forward. I remember everything now, he whispered. Smiled a small, trembling, beautiful smile. Then nothing can break us again. And with that, the human and the alien queen walked into the coming storm, side by side, united again, ready to fight for the future stolen from them.